We got to get carpet or something. Hey, it's great to be with you. Just one very important announcement. In your bag, you got these pens. This is not an eraser. All right? It's to write on your iPad. Sorry we didn't put iPads in your bag. We're working on that, but this is kind of hope, okay? So just saying. Hey, a lot of people I need to be thanking, we need to thank. I'd like our NextGen staff to stand, all of our directors, Darlene, Josh, Jim, Rick, John, Pamela. Will you guys all stand? Everything that's happened this week is because of these people. I am incredibly blessed with people that just have a passion. Seriously, they have a passion for this, and a love for you, a love for Christ Church, and they are greatly engaged. I'm incredibly very thankful. I want to thank the board that I get to serve with. I love actually going to board meetings with this board. Can't always say that was true, but I love this board. I'd like to have all of our board members stand, and can we thank them because they do serve our association very well. Dave. Debbie's the only one that's, she was here earlier, she had to leave, but they have really done well. Mark Young, thank you for just bringing the word to us, and I want to make this quick because I want to hear you, and just very grateful. My heart has really resonated with this message of redemption and restoration. As I've thought, actually in recent weeks, I've been thinking, and I was sharing with my church the other day. 10 years ago, my wife and I were ministering in Phoenix, Arizona. We just sensed God was leading us and, in a sense, compelling, pushing us to come back to California. And so in the process of that, I merged my church with another church, put someone else up as the leader. And in preparation, we were going to come. It was going to be an easy find. And we were going to get engaged here with ministry. And that was a 2-year process. And at the annual meeting 10 years ago, Lynette and I came. We were still living in Phoenix, still serving in Phoenix. We came to Asilomar, and I was just like, I think God's done with me. I don't know if you've ever been to that point in your life in ministry. I'm going to guess a lot of you have. But we had really gotten to a point where obvious doors, obviously they would want me, and or obviously I could go in and fix them, or, just all those obvious doors that seemed to make sense just kept closing. And we thought, well, Brad Franklin planted a church. Maybe we could learn from him, and we could plant a church. And we started engaging with our association in that, and God said, yeah, thank you very much, but no. And, God's a redeeming God. And 10 years in August, we've been in Morgan Hill. And I just look at that journey that many of us, and that story can get repeated all over here, of how God takes us in those very dark places. And though we are redeemed, I think once and for all, once we place our faith in Christ, I think there's a regular movement of redemption and restoration God's working in us. And I think that's a lesson we need to learn. My church worships every Sunday in the Silver Saddle Saloon. That's a part of our redemptive story. And I was thinking about where this network of churches was 5 years ago. And in all candor, we had blown up. And we were on a tipping point. Are we going to continue to exist or not? Are we going to continue to be here or not? And God redeemed through some incredible people, an incredible board that got together. Brad came on and served us as an interim to get us through some tough waters, to bring us to a place where God is redeeming that work, and God is redeeming what he's been doing in our midst to make a kingdom difference. Because the question we kept asking ourselves was, none of us have time and none of us really care about maintaining an organization, but there are a network of relationships there, and could we do something better together that we can't do by ourselves? And I'm convinced we can. I'm convinced that we are. And it's my vision and our vision, I know as a board, to see that continue to grow and to expand. The church in this world is growing. Christianity is growing. Christianity is growing faster than Islam in China and in India and Latin America. Some stats say there's upwards to over 30,000 daily that are coming to faith in Latin America and China. The hot spots in our world right now are China, India, Indonesia, Brazil, and Nigeria. And as I was reading that, I got thinking, wow, I have in my church Chinese, Indian people, Indonesian people, Brazilian people, Nigerian people. Do you? We have that world coming to us. And I think we got to do something about that. 10 years ago, India was 1% Christian. Some stats say it's upward to 20% now. There are 3 places in the world that the church is losing the ground. You know what they are: Europe, here, and Australia and New Zealand. We're losing ground. Some of Barna's stats are this, that almost 3 million people this year are leaving the church in the United States, that we're losing population within the Christian church up to 3 million people. 3,500 to 4,000 churches are closing every year. We are not keeping up. Most churches, in fact, over 80% of churches are either plateaued or declining. We've got a huge mission in front of us. We have a huge opportunity in front of us. I'm incredibly thrilled and excited by this. It just fills all of our hearts, I think, to see, wow, there's some people here, and there's some relationships happening. And I love this venue is so conducive for that, and I'm so excited about that. But let's remember something. Our success is not that we're relating. Our success is if we're using our relationships for our mission. Our success is not that we're having a great banquet. This is important. I want us to have this. This is vital for us, but it's vital for our mission's sake. There is a whole community, there's a whole world in Northern California and Nevada that we have the opportunity to touch. And less than 7% of people, at least in the South Bay where we live, are going to church, are connected with church. And we've got to do something about that. We've got to change that number. As a network, we're not here to do the work of the church. We're not here to do your work. But we do want to be a vehicle for relationships and a vehicle as a network to help us to fulfill what Acts 1:8 told us to do. And that is that as we are reliant on the Spirit of God, that He will do something. He will lead us into Jerusalem. And a lot of us are working really hard in Jerusalem. And we're really working hard in our mission partners around the world. But where we're really missing the boat is Judea and Samaria, those cross-cultural things. And let's look at us. We're pretty white in here. And praise God, we're seeing some movement that way amongst our association. But I believe we have a responsibility for the region. That my church has a responsibility for the region. That's why we're involved with this. That your church has a responsibility, not just for your town and your community and you sending missionaries out, but there's a regional influence that I think we have an opportunity to be a part of. I really believe that together, since together was the model of the Acts church, I mean, think about it. They shared resources together. They sent leaders to Antioch, one church sending leaders to another church to check that church out, to bless that church. They sent money to Judea. The churches gathered together to help Judea when they were going through persecution. They were looking for doctrinal clarity, so they gathered together and went to Jerusalem to look for that doctrinal clarity. They sent leaders out to plant churches. That wasn't a church. That was a network of churches working together on mission. And yes, I know I have a network within my own town and within my own community, but I ain't planting churches with them because this is my people. And there's something about, I believe, a network here that we can make an incredible difference. I think in together, we can focus not on our denomination, but on our mission. I think together we can focus not on what makes the network work. We just need to focus on what the cause of Christ is for us in this community. And I think if we together serve one another for healthy leaders, those healthy leaders will be growing and reproducing. And as a result, our churches will be healthy and growing and reproducing. I think that's what matters. We've said recently as a board, as we've talked about this, that we want to be intentional about building healthy and reproducing leaders in churches. That's why we're doing that ministry leadership certificate, where we're networking, we're taking educational material that we're getting from Western, but we're adding our own coaches and our own mentors. And we're creating events where some of you can come. We're doing things for ministry marriages. We're going to be doing some events this fall for pastoral counseling. And we're looking for particular ways we can come alongside of your church, your leaders, us as leaders, to help us to be healthy and grow. We're not going to out-willow. You know, we're not going to out-saddle back. But we can do something they can't, and I'm grateful for them. By the way, we can give you a discount to the leadership event coming up in August for Willow Creek, so we'll get that info out to you. Those are helpful, but they're not relational necessarily, and I think that's something we can do together. We come together and do ministry mapping. We need to do more of that. We come together to plant churches. We have 4 that we're currently going. We have 2 others that we want to have happen. So here's what I'm asking. I'm asking that you continue to be involved. I'm hoping and praying that there are some relationships that have happened here where you've said, you know what, I've got some resources I can bring alongside of you. And we don't even know about. That's okay. My prayer is that we're working together, looking for opportunities and ways to network our resources so that we can help the kingdom, help the body of Christ mature and grow together. A couple of asks I have of you. Number one, we need, and we haven't asked this for years, and I'm asking it tonight, we need you and your church to consider supporting NextGen financially. We need your money not to maintain the organization. We're okay. We're going to survive. But we need money for planting churches. We need your help with that. We need your help in helping us financially be able to create events for our pastors and leaders that can't afford. If we charge for this, what this cost, a lot of people couldn't maybe make it for that. And the reason we moved here is because we want to create opportunities for as many as we can to come here. And we're coming alongside of these events, and we're buying them down to make it possible for our ministry leaders, especially those who don't have the resources of some of the larger churches, to be able to, for us to build into them. We need you to consider to put us on your mission budget, put us on your line item somewhere, so that we can continue to help these churches get planted, that we can pour into ministry leaders. And then we want to do even more in coming alongside some of our churches that are really struggling, and do some ministry assessments, do some ministry mapping, bring coaches to come alongside of them to help them to get back to health and to strength. And we need to be intentional about that, and that takes money. And so I'm asking you for money. I know you all have bludgeoning budgets. I'm asking you to step out on faith on that. Secondly, the big ask is we need your help toward our Silver Spur project. In your programs that you got, I don't know if you had a chance to look at this brochure, and there is an envelope in there because we want your money. Thank you. We are seeking to raise here at Silver Spur $1.3 million. You already saw, look at our room tonight. We're pretty full. And I know there's some churches that said they wanted to be here and couldn't. And we plan on continuing to expand our efforts in this network. And we have several other groups of churches that are saying, we like what's happening at NextGen. How can we be a part of it? And but in order for us to do that, in order for us to do the events that need to happen here at Silver Spur, we need a new dining hall. Really. Now, the food's awesome, right? Didn't they do a great job tonight, by the way? I went over during the break and talked to our chef. He was in there mopping the floor. And what an incredible job the staff did for us. And I really appreciate it. I would just really like to get him a new kitchen. Imagine what he could do. And for us to have a larger facility to be meeting in, and for us to be able to run full bore on the camp. We already have $130,000 that the board is committed toward this project. We can get through phase one. We just need $400,000 more, and we can build that new building and get us moving on this project. I'm going to have John come on up here because in a second he's going to share that with you. We, as a board, asked the question, what do we do with this asset called Silver Spur? Because Silver Spur belongs to you. It belongs to our network of churches. And we decided this is an asset that we can leverage to train leaders. This is an asset we can use to come alongside of your church. We're going to be coming to you in terms of looking at our retreats, our women's retreats, our men's retreats, some of the other retreats that we're having. We want you to speak into those retreats because this isn't just a Silver Spur, some other entity somewhere offering a retreat. We want this to be something that you as a network of churches are speaking into, that we can come alongside of your church, your women's ministry, your men's ministry, and provide opportunities here for you. We also want you to use this camp to make it a part of your ministry efforts. It's a tool in our toolbox that for too long we have just left sitting in the bottom of our tools, and we're bringing it out. John and Pamela get it. They understand what we're trying to do, and they're working well together with us. And so this is the first time we're introducing this project. You may have people in your church that have been a part of coming to Silver Spur. They have lots of money. You need to talk to them. Get them engaged in this. My encouragement and my prayer is that you as a church would go home and consider making some major contributions toward this effort. I would like to break ground this fall on this building. And I know that's crazy to say that because I'm not supposed to, but I just want to. And I'd like to have our meeting next year in our new place, but it's going to be dependent on God's provision. And I'm willing to wait on that. So I'm going to shut up and give this to you, John.
It's been a privilege having you here. Every year, Silver Spur gets a chance as a ministry of NextGen to be able to serve into your churches and be an extension of your ministries that are going on throughout the year. And it's one of the things that we absolutely love to do. Even though we serve other churches that are not NextGen churches, we do have the privilege of knowing that throughout the year, our family of churches through NextGen are looking towards us for opportunities to bring their men's ministries, women's ministries, kids' ministries down here and use us as a tool to accomplish what you've been working on all year. It's exciting to me to enter into this, and what I get to do tonight is to sort of quickly run through the 3 phases of the project and give you an overview of what we're looking at doing over the next couple of years. First of all, you can see in the brochure that was put together on here, there's 3 priorities that we call them that we're going to approach. And the first priority is the one with the dining room. Dining room, because we identified some visions for the future, we're going to be 50 years old next year. And that's one of those things, I believe strongly in seasons in our lives and seasons in ministries. And I believe Silver Spur is entering into another season of ministry. And we need to plan and prepare for that. And we've identified some of those needs that will help sort of move us into that next season of life for us as a ministry here, and how we can serve you and really help your ministry efforts that you're doing throughout the year. And you can bring these people up here and have them come to Christ, have them grow closer to Christ, and just all the things that happen when they get isolated away from all the noise of their daily lives. And some of the things we identified was medium-sized groups are the biggest requests that we have come through here are for those medium-sized. And that's anywhere from 40 to 80 people. We're also recognizing in camping there's been a bit of a shift change over the years and that people aren't as excited about oddly walking across outside at night to go to the bathroom or go to the shower room. And so we have some facilities in mind that will allow that to be a thing of the past. Up at our Silver Creek camp, we have 12 cabins up there, and we're going to put bathrooms and showers on each separate cabin. We also have identified one of the priorities is our dining hall, of course, is sort of the hallmark of this whole thing, because our dining hall, which serves the lodge, will only seat 175 people, but yet the lodge sleeps 220. So you can see the obvious issue there, and not only is it inadequate for our gatherings at times, it's inadequate for also guest groups that come through and are looking for a camp, and they recognize that they can't bring 200 kids here because they can't feed 200 kids in our kitchen. And so this is very strategic in that fashion. So this is our first priority, and it takes 2 things in that, because not only the 9,000 square foot dining hall, which will seat 300 and has a new kitchen attached to it, but in the process of that, because of where it's being located, we're going to have to build a new shop, which is desperately needed for operational security for our sakes, and also operational efficiency for our sakes. Just a 2,000 square foot metal building is what it is, will also be constructed. But where it's going to be located, if you know where the RV park is, if you all notice where the playground is over here that's fenced in, that big swath of dirt behind there, that's the RV park. We can do about 10 RVs back in there. We're going to level that out, and we're going to build the 9,000 square foot back there. It'll have an outdoor patio on the front for outside seating also, if we can use that. And so that was our first priority, was to get that taken care of. That's $530,000 for those 2 things to be built. Most of the cost is in just materials, because we have labor that will be provided through volunteer work. We also realized that we needed to construct some other buildings, and priority 2 for us is to redevelop the current dining hall and kitchen area into additional lodge housing. So the existing dining area that you're at now, that will be basically in our minds become a blank slate, including the office area and our gift shop. and we will make new sleeping quarters in there, as well as we'll refigure our offices because they're desperately in need of that, as well as our gift shop. So that'll be in priority 2, and you'll see that in those new housing that's going to be new lodging that's going to be in the dining hall. Those are going to be more individual rooms, sort of like our poolside rooms. If you ever had a chance to look at it, I encourage you to go look at them. They'll have full-size bed in it with a shower and their own bathroom in that. So we're trying to up the level a little bit of some of the rooms that are available and give us flexibility. That's really important in our business, is to have flexibility for the various types of groups that come through. And you see a couple pictures there from Priority 2. This is the cabins up at Silver Creek. How many have not seen Silver Creek Camp? Silver Creek Camp, if you go to the main parking lot, and there's a narrow road that goes up the side of the hill about 200 yards. You need to take a drive up there because it's the most beautiful view on the campus. It's got a great southern view, and it's a great spot. But all the cabins don't have bathrooms, and they have to go outside to a common shower bathhouse. Very nice, but it's still outside. I remember going camping in a tent, and doesn't bother me at all, but doesn't seem to be the case for everybody, including maybe my wife. I don't know. So anyway, we'll be doing that and getting bathrooms put on those. That's a fairly inexpensive project to do. And then we're going to develop a new parking lot. We have a current large parking lot where we have an upper overflow parking lot that is just gravel. We're going to develop that and pave that out so we'll have the additional parking necessary for the improvements. And so that area is called Ghost Town right now. It's just sort of been a supply and storage area, and it's a beautiful little spot, and it'll make a great little section for about 12 to 15 units, which means we can sleep 45 to 50 people in that, all in individual rooms with nice bathrooms and showers. And it'll give us one more option for groups wanting to come up here with leaderships. You want to bring your leadership team up here. You want to bring your own women's team up here. You can do that, and they'll all have their own rooms. Then priority 3 at the end of all this is $380,000 for that project, and that involves constructing that's in project 3. Is the 12 to 15 bedroom housing project, and then also to remodel of the current annex building. Now, how many have stayed in our Ridge House? Which is the retreat house? I see some hands. Have you seen it in the last few weeks? We got a $30,000 grant from a foundation last year, and we just remodeled the whole thing, including 2 large decks. It's absolutely sensational. And we want another one of those. And right across from it is a little greenhouse that used to be stored goats in back in the day. And it smells like it had goats in it. But we want to make that into another retreat house, a little smaller one, about 12 to 14 people capacity. We envision that being an addition to the larger ones for groups that have maybe 30 or 40 people, or you could have 2 retreats going on at the same time with 2 separate groups. So it gives us a great deal of flexibility. We do this because we're excited about what you're doing as churches, and we're excited about being an extension of your ministries. We're up here every day, all through the year, working, knowing that that's exactly what you guys are doing. And we get excited about that because when you bring your teams up here, when you bring your kids from your kids' ministry, or you bring your men from your men's ministry, we're very cognizant of the reality that you've been working 51 weeks that year, hard on those souls, and you bring them up here, and we see our job is to partner with you in what you've done for those 51 weeks. And sometimes we get to say something in that situation, and other times it's just by our ministry and service to you. That gets us excited. You have a great, tremendous, devoted group of people here on staff that see this not as a job but as ministry. And it's really my pleasure to be able to lead them in that. We don't see groups, but we see individuals. And I think that's what helps us stand out. Speaking to that, to give you an idea of the things that really turns our crank, this guy here is not the person I'm talking about, but it's a picture representation of him. In 2012 at the men's retreat, that church that he belonged to for 51 weeks that year had been working diligently with him in the midst. He shows up at men's retreat, spends the weekend with us. Sunday morning he comes up to me after devotional. He says, "John, I've been convicted in the last few months about my role as a father and how I am not leading my kids properly in the example I'm giving them." And he goes, "I want you to know this weekend I made a commitment that I'm going to go back. I'm going to ask forgiveness to my boys." And I'm going to tell him that I'm going to tell them that things are going to be different. So we have people come through, make mountaintop experiences, and you say, okay, I wonder if that carries over. Do they see that happen throughout the rest of the year? Because a lot of times we don't see the result of that for the next 51 weeks. Well, the next year, 2013, Phil's one of the first guys that comes up to me, and he grabs me, and I asked him directly, I said, how'd you do this year? And he goes, John, I went back and I asked for forgiveness, and they both forgave me. I told them things were going to be different. I was going to be the dad that God wanted me to be for them. And I realize that standing behind him are two teenage boys. First time at the camp, and they're both shaking in agreement with their father. I've told this story a lot of times. I'm sorry, guys. It's just he was so real and honest with me. And they were there that weekend, and they had an amazing week, and I could see their growth just through 3 days. But here was a man who came, and through that one weekend experience, after 51 weeks of hard work by his church, by you guys, came here, and we got to see the results of that ministry. I tell you, that's a great joy to us. And we want to partner with you, what you're doing. You're on the front lines. You're at the top of the pyramid. We're there to support that effort. Let us do that. Let us do that. These facilities, they're just a vehicle and a tool for doing that. And Dave's right. We're asking for money. And I think that's absolutely critical because you know how the world runs. But we do need money to make this project happen. And all those buildings and facilities that are constructed will be with that in mind of supporting your ministry and giving you additional tools to use throughout the year. So some ways that you can do that. You can, first of all, there's an envelope in here. And this is really intended for tonight, for this weekend. And I'm not bashful about asking about this. I'd love for you guys to throw some money in this and leave it here with us. And this will go right into the building project. You can also go back to your churches and strategize how maybe you can have some fundraising efforts or some efforts to gather up some money to give towards Silver Spur. I know we're talking about having some tables that you can buy out of our dining room as a representation, like $10,000 a table. I know that's going to be very different from church to church what you can give, but I'd preferably ask you to pray about that because we've got 50 years in front of us at least to really impact the world. And thirdly, Dave said it well, there's probably some men and women in your church that have financial resources that are always looking. I'm always shocked at how many people are out there just looking for a meaningful ministry that they can plant their money into and know that they're going to make a difference. I believe that's Silver Spur. So if you know some of those men and women in your church, I'd encourage you to talk to them. Give me a call. Connect me with them. I would love to come and sit with them and share with them about the ministry here and how it's impacting your churches. So thank you for your time tonight. Thank you for the chance to serve you this week. This has been a lot of fun. We love what you're doing. I just want to encourage you to keep plowing ahead. God is great, and he's going to do great things through NextGen and through you. God bless you.